The Road by Cormac McCarthy, created by Gravitas Dream. Ash hangs in the trees as the man wakes, cold and alert. He listens until he hears the small breathing that tells him he is not alone. The daughter wakes under a tarp that smells of smoke and rain. She watches the man's face for any sign that today will be easier. He rolls a battered cart onto the empty road and studies a stained map. Every step south feels like a promise he cannot break. The daughter counts their matches like beads, then hides them again. She keeps her worries small, the way she has learned to do. They reach a roadside motel with broken windows and a lobby full of dust. He checks the silence before trusting the roof. The daughter finds a cracked sink and cups her hands under a slow drip. Even a mouthful of water feels like a prize. In a pantry of toppled shelves, he turns up 2 cans of tomatoes. He forces a calm smile, as if plenty still exists. The daughter drinks a warm soda in 2 careful swallows, savoring the fizz. For a moment, she looks like a kid again. They pass through a city of empty storefronts and burned-out cars. He keeps his eyes moving, never resting on the ruin too long. At his childhood house, he stands in the doorway and lets the past rush in. When the ground trembles, he does not flinch. He has learned not to. The daughter finds a small toy under a layer of dust and turns it in her hands. She sets it back gently, as if apologizing for touching it. In an abandoned house, he sits by a dead fireplace and reads from a worn book. The words are thin, but they keep the night from swallowing him. In memory, the woman stands at a window, steady and far away. Her silence is its own kind of weather in his mind. The daughter keeps close when the snow begins, watching the man build a fire with trembling hands. She does not complain. She only waits to be told what comes next. He steps through the woods with snow collecting on his shoulders. Each breath is a calculation: warmth, distance, and time. The daughter warms her hands over a small flame and whispers questions she never finishes. She watches the smoke rise as if it might carry answers south. At a river falls, he gathers mushrooms and checks the ground for footprints. The water is loud enough to hide 100 mistakes. At the falls, the daughter fills a pot and watches the current as if it could speak. She is hungry, but the sound of water makes her feel less alone. They cook a thin supper and eat without wasting words. Before sleep, he walks the perimeter and decides the road is safer than staying. Wrapped in blankets, the daughter falls asleep to the river's roar. She dreams of bright rooms and warm hands she barely remembers. They find an abandoned truck on the road and use it as shelter for the night. Inside the cab, he counts their food again, pretending the numbers can change. The daughter curls against the cracked seat and listens to the wind worry the doors. She whispers that she is still one of the good guys, just to hear it said. At dawn, they see a traveler on the road, burned and unsteady. He grips his daughter's shoulder and keeps moving, choosing survival over mercy. A burned traveler stands by the roadside, one eye clouded, one leg dragging. He watches them pass without asking, as if he already knows the answer. The daughter looks back once, then faces forward again. She learns, in that quiet turn, what kindness costs in this world. In the evening, he writes in his head because paper is gone. He tries to remember faces, but the world keeps sanding them smooth. In memory, the woman steps into darkness without looking back. He cannot decide whether she abandoned them or spared them. He wakes to distant thunder and checks the road before dawn. The fear is never gone. It only changes shape. On the road again, he folds their blankets with practiced speed. He will not let comfort make them careless. The daughter finds fresh paw prints in the mud and follows them with hope. When a dog appears, she holds perfectly still, afraid to scare it away. A stray dog lingers at the edge of their camp, ribs showing beneath matted fur. He offers a scrap and watches the animal vanish into the trees. Snow deepens, and the daughter helps stack branches for a windbreak. Her hands shake, but she keeps working until the man tells her to stop. They find shelter in a large house and discover a hidden space behind a locked door. He understands too much from the smell alone, and he backs away fast. In a small, locked room, he wedges the door and listens to footsteps above. He tells the daughter, in a low voice, what to do if they are caught. The daughter hides in a closet and tries not to breathe too loudly. In the dark, she squeezes her eyes shut and counts, over and over, to stay calm. When the sounds pass, he leads the daughter out through a stairwell and into the open night. He does not run. He moves like a shadow that refuses to panic. In the woods, he lays the daughter down on dry leaves and checks her face for color. Hunger and fear have made them both light as paper. The daughter lies on the ground, dehydrated and exhausted, staring up through bare branches. When the man offers water, she blinks as if the gesture is unreal. At a farmhouse, he searches empty rooms and finds grape powder in a jar. He pockets it like treasure and keeps looking for anything that will last. Behind the farmhouse, an apple tree still bears fruit. He fills his coat pockets until they sag, feeling a rare flash of triumph. At a cistern, the daughter drinks clean water and laughs once, surprised by the sound. The man watches her like the world might steal that laugh away. Rain follows them through open fields, turning ash to paste. He keeps his head down and steers toward the next line of trees. The daughter admits she is scared of the people who follow roads. She asks if they will be eaten, and the question hangs between them like smoke. They find a hatch in the earth that leads to a bunker stocked with food. He hesitates, then lets himself believe they have been spared for one more day. In the bunker, the daughter stares at shelves of food like she is seeing miracles. She eats slowly, afraid the taste will vanish if she swallows too fast. He lays out a small home among the supplies, measuring out portions with strict care. Even in safety, he plans for the moment safety ends. The daughter sleeps on a cot for the first time in ages, face soft in the clean air. When she wakes, she looks around to make sure it was real. On the road, an old man accepts a shared meal with wary gratitude. He talks as if words can keep loneliness from closing in. The man shares a can and listens, but he never relaxes his grip on the cart. He knows companionship can be another kind of risk. The daughter watches the old man carefully, then offers him a piece of food anyway. Her goodness is stubborn, even when the world argues back. When the old man parts ways, the road feels wider and colder. He sets their pace again, pushing forward as if motion can outlast grief. In a deserted town, he scavenges for water and watches every doorway. He keeps his face hard so the daughter will not see doubt. In an abandoned house, the daughter stacks blankets and sorts what little they have. She makes order because chaos feels like a cliff edge. A thief stands alone in the road, stripping supplies from an abandoned cart. He works quickly, as if shame is another thing that might catch him. He finds their cart emptied and feels a hot rush of helpless rage. He follows the tracks anyway, because giving up is not an option he allows. The daughter sits with an empty tin in her lap, watching the man decide what they can spare. She hates the anger in the man's eyes more than the hunger. He forces the thief to leave their clothes behind and then turns away, shaking. Afterward, he cannot tell whether justice still exists or only instinct. At last the air changes, and the sound of waves reaches them. He stands at the dunes, stunned that the world can still make music. On the beach, the daughter draws a small village in the sand and smiles at her own invention. She asks if good guys might see it and come closer. He fires a flare into the night as a brief celebration, then regrets the light at once. Hope is dangerous when it can be seen from far away. The daughter grows feverish after the cold night and shivers under the tarp. The man stays awake, listening to each breath like it is a clock. They find shelter in a store building and make a small camp among empty aisles. His leg is wrapped tight, and he tries to keep walking anyway. The daughter helps with the bandage, hands gentle despite the grime. She tells the man they are still carrying the fire, even if it feels small, and he never woke. Near the end of the road, a man watches from the tree line, careful and unreadable. He carries a rifle, but keeps it lowered as if deciding what kind of world remains. A woman steps into view with calm eyes, watching the daughter with cautious sympathy. She speaks softly, offering a path forward that sounds almost impossible. A child stands behind the strangers, eyes bright with guarded curiosity. The daughter realizes she is not the only one who has endured. The daughter takes a breath and steps toward the future she can barely imagine. She carries the fire in silence, and the sea keeps rolling as if it always has.